TRRC, or this country for that matter. The TRRC deems it necessary to clarify some of the issues contained in the articles. We do so not because we are buckling to pressure from anybody, but because of the fact that several Gambian papers have carried this article, which suggests the importance that is placed on this matter by Gambian society. As such, we deem it necessary to really provide information on this and dispel fears that people may have, and to make it clear in no uncertain terms that some of the claims are simply unfounded. The TRRC takes the massacre of the 56 West Africans very, very seriously. We take very seriously any single loss of life, let alone the senseless massacre of 56 West Africans. I think it is known to everyone that as a result of the TRRC investigations and public hearings, those who carried out those massacres publicly confessed to having carried out the massacre and explained how all happened. This just goes to further buttress the seriousness to which the TRRC holds this particular issue. We hold very seriously all violation of rights, and we would continue to strive to give all victims the opportunity to come to the TRRC and to talk about their own victimization. We have not completed our investigation of the massacre of the West African migrants. We've done the first part, which is to bring out the evidence of the junglers who carried out the killings. And I think that put to rest the question as to whether those migrants died and where they were killed and by whom they were killed. But of course, there are certain things that we still need to do in order to finish this investigation. The TRRC has been in contact with representatives of Jame to Justice who are very much interested in this, and the last few weeks we have outlined a plan as to what the TRRC intends to do. We have informed them, I have personally informed them, that we would call about 5 witnesses from Ghana, and we've told them the type of witnesses we expect to call, including Kerry himself to be a witness. We have also informed them on the Gambian side the additional witnesses that we envisage to call. They have also made suggestions to us as to other witnesses who the Commission can call. And those suggestions are taken very seriously and are under consideration. I expected that perhaps those communications would have been extended to others in Ghana who may be interested in this, but it appears that that has not happened for one reason or another. But in any case, the TRRC has a very detailed plan as to what it expects to do, and that plan is being implemented. The investigations are ongoing. But I would say it quite clearly that the TRRC would not dance to the tune of any individual or institution. We would not be directed to or dictated by anyone as to what to do or how to do our work. We would do it to the best of our ability, we would do what we believe is right. We would do what we believe is what we should do in order to discharge our responsibilities under the Act. And we would do it diligently, professionally, and to the best of our abilities. But we would not succumb to any pressure or direction from anyone as to what to do or how to do it. If we receive good ideas from individuals or institutions as to things that can be done in order to help the investigations, be it this one or any other investigations, we would look into that, because we do think nobody has monopoly over good ideas, and where there are ideas that are helpful to our work, we'd be happy to embrace those ideas and move along with them. In this particular occasion, though, it appears that the information put on the newspaper was just intended to put pressure on the TRRC. But we are not in the business of responding to these things, or in fact directly dealing with them. We just put them aside and do what we have to do. On this particular occasion, though, because of the fact that this issue has received so much prominence in Gambian papers, we believe it's in the public interest. There's a need for the public to know what is going on, and as such, we deem it necessary, therefore, to respond to that need by providing information. But be rest assured that there is no discrimination in terms of victims, be they Gambian or non-Gambian. I think it would be unfair to suggest that the TRRC is discriminating victims. When it came to the killing of the West African migrants, in fact, the nationality of other victims seemed to have received more prominence than the Gambian victim who was also killed. In fact, many people may not even be aware that a Gambian was also killed in that event, in that incident. So to therefore suggest that Gambian victims are given priority, that Gambian victims made the focus of our inquiries, and other non-Gambians are not given the importance that they deserve in these investigations, is simply unfounded. But that said, we are not here to defend the TRRC. We are here to just explain exactly what has happened. I think it is quite clear to all who follow the proceedings of the TRRC that we take rights violations seriously. We take victims' rights seriously, and we have done everything to ensure that this is a victim-centered approach to the investigations, and all victims would have their day before the Commission for as long as they have something that is relevant to the topics that we're dealing with. So on that note, I thank you for giving us this opportunity, and I'd be happy to answer whatever questions that you may have.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fall. My name is Grts from QTV. I have a few questions, but firstly, let me say, when does the TRRC intends to start investigations into the killings of these 55 Ghanaians, West Africans rather?
We have a revised work plan, and hopefully sometime in December we would start that hearing. The difficulty of giving a precise date is that the current hearing that we are on now, this current theme, that is the NIA hearing, has not been concluded, and all of you would expect that in this institutional hearing there would be a hearing for adversely mentioned individuals. There would be also a hearing of witnesses who would help explain how this institution is run for the purposes of institutional reform. what you can predict is the number of witnesses you can select for institutional reform, but you cannot predict the number of witnesses who would be adversely mentioned by victims. So because of that, it is really difficult to put a precise date on when we would conclude the institutional hearing on the NIA. And for those who are following the hearing keenly, you would realize that we are dovetailing some other hearings into the NIA institutional hearing itself. We have done the 2006 Nurcham coup d'etat, all within the context of the NIA institutional hearings. We have started the 2009 alleged or planned coup d'etat, allegedly by Lang Tombong, Tamba, that also within the context of the NIA hearings. We have done, we are going to do the April 2016 arrests of UDP supporters, also within the context of the NIA hearings. The reason for doing so is that all those incidents led to tortures that were committed against civilians at the NIA itself. So it made sense, therefore, that we do not duplicate these hearings. So we're doing it all at the same time within the context of the NIA hearings in order to kill several birds with one stone. But then that makes the hearings a little wider than previously planned, and therefore it's simply not possible to be able to predict in advance how many adversely mentioned persons we would be interested in giving an opportunity to be heard publicly. So therefore, it's difficult to give a precise date to complete the NIA hearings before we start the migrants case. But what I can say is that the next subject to come before the commission would be the migrants case. And investigations on that matter are still ongoing. The necessary invitations to the witnesses from Ghana would be sent as soon as we have an idea when the hearing would start and when those witnesses would be heard. It makes no sense to invite a person to a hearing and give a date, a tentative date, not knowing exactly when the hearing would take place. But all those things would be done as soon as we have a fair idea when this institutional hearing on the NIA would be concluded. Next question.
Thank you very much. My name is Mapuji Caesar. I work for the Standard. Mr. Fall, my first question will be, I wanted to know whether the subpoena that the Ghanaians just came up with, do you think it is something that can stand whereby the two, Esabaji and Yakuba Sonko, will be forced to go and answer to the court? And the following question will be...
Could we do it one after the other?
Okay.
Yeah. On that question, it's just a suggestion by the Ghanaians that we should subpoena these people to come to testify. But really, our TRRC has been so successful that we, in fact, did not need to use our subpoena powers. This is the Gambia. Most witnesses, you ask them to come, they would come and testify. So we've rarely used our subpoena power. It's not necessary on most occasions. The TRRC would assess, would conduct its investigations, and on the basis of the leads that are available, we would decide who to call or who not to call. I see names have been mentioned here, but the TRRC would look at what is available and decide who to call and who not to call. Even if we call these people, it's just because they have something to offer, something to say, and not because somebody has suggested that we call them. But we would conduct our investigations and see whether these people have any evidence or information that would add to the body of information that is already available. It has to be based on relevant evidence and admissible evidence. If we have that, we would call the people who possess the relevant information to come to testify. It can be Yankuba Sonko, it can be Ensar Baji, it could be anybody else, it could be all of those. The only thing I say about this is we welcome leads from any individual who has lead information, and we would look into it, we would pursue it diligently, and if we have relevant and credible evidence from those leads, we would solely call the people who have that evidence to come forward and testify. Whether it would be by subpoena or by a mere invitation, we would cross that bridge when we get there. But by and large, we have hardly used our subpoena powers because it's not been necessary to do so. Gambian witnesses have been very, very cooperative with the TRRC, and we are very thankful for that. The next question?
The two countries, the Gambia and Ghana, have been sued to the regional bloc court. Do you think the attitude of these Ghanaians, it's putting the horse before the cart?
Or the cart before the horse?
Yes.
Well, I offer no comment on that. That would be more for the Ministry of Justice. We, as a commission, are not a party to those proceedings. I want to believe if there is a suit, it would be against the Gambia government. So that is a matter for the Gambia government to answer. We hold no brief for them.
And just my final question, one of the complaints from the issue of that we're discussing here is, witnesses coming here testifying and accepting, taking part in this said incident. What happens when some of these, they are called again to come and testify, they say the same things? Because one thing they are complaining about is them testifying, accepting, doing these bad deeds, and still allowed to be working freely in society. What would be the advice of the TRRC to the Justice Ministry this time when they come again and accept doing this bad deeds?
I think that issue would be questioning Gambia government policy as to how they implement the TRRC Act. If Gambia government thinks that by letting individuals free until the TRRC finishes its work and submits its recommendation is the best way forward, then I would not question that policy. And therefore, I offer no further comment on that, except to say that if people are being arrested now, then nobody would come to confess before the TRRC. Because if people are being arrested now, it therefore means that opportunity is not given to the TRRC to implement its powers under the law. Remember, the TRRC has the power to recommend amnesty for people who confess to the crimes they have committed and express remorse and are willing to accept the conditions that the TRRC may propose for them to get amnesty. Well, if they are being arrested now, therefore it means the TRRC is not given the space or the opportunity or the latitude to exercise its powers within the Act. Well, that by itself would defeat the whole essence of the amnesty provisions in the Act. Even if it doesn't so defeat it completely, it would make it difficult for people to come forward and confess to violations. And that is why this may create a temporary inconvenience, if you will. I mean, one may seem to suggest that it is insensitive to allow perpetrators to walk freely and in fact come across or interact with victims or victims' families. We understand that it is very difficult. And there is an important point to that. and it's a matter that needs to be looked into. But also there is interest in ensuring that the truth is known. And by having these people arrested and incarcerated, you reduce the possibility of all the facts coming out during these investigations. And perhaps that is the reason why government took this policy. But this is a matter that has been dealt with extensively by the government. It's not for us at the TRRC to deal with. So we leave that matter for government to handle. As far as we are concerned, we are focused and preoccupied with trying to conduct the investigations bearing in mind the best practices and trying to stitch together the evidence and to present it for the Gambian public to know the facts about what has happened in the 22 years of jamming. That's what we are preoccupied with. Any other questions? In the absence of any further questions, I say thank you very much, and next time. Thank you.
Own opinion. I think what can be done is we should, especially the government institutions, the private sector, and all those other institutions, can try and have a